Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to be showing you how to set up your Desmos graph so that you can figure out your quadratic equation for your parabola object, and so that you can get this project done. So let's see. First thing we're going to need to do is find an object, like I had been saying. So once you have your object, you're going to obtain your width and your depth as your measurements. And again, that can be an approximation. It doesn't have to be exact. I recommend keeping it in whole numbers just so that it's a little bit easier to keep track of. But let's suppose whatever object I found, let's suppose it is, I don't know, 10 units wide and then 5 units deep. So because we have 10 units wide and 5 units deep, the way that I would arrange my graph would be up in the first quadrant. And I'm going to want to put a point right here on 0, 0, and another one on 10. That's how wide my parabola is. So I'm going to click here on this plus sign, open up a table. You're going to see that it has x, a 1, and then a y sub 1. So for x, we're going to click 0. For y1, we're going to click 0, and that'll graph our first point. And then I'm going to do 10 and 0, and that marks this second point, how wide this parabola is. And then I need the depth. And so if you want to find the depth, how deep is your parabola, you got to go halfways on your width. So half of 10 is 5. That means that my width has to be at 5. And then I also said that my the depth of my parabola would be 5 units as well. So my vertex is actually going to have coordinates 5, 5. All right, so you go in the middle and then you hit the depth that you said you were going to have. So once we have these 3 points ready, let me see if I could zoom in a little more. So once these 3 points are ready, you can pretty much start creating your parabola. Let's see how we do that. So for that, we will need to use one of these functions on Desmos that I did link a video to in case you still don't get it after today, after watching this video. But this is what we do. Because we are trying to create a quadratic equation, we're going to want to put this in the most general form that we know of using these variables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type y, and then I'm going to hit the 1 key, and that little 1 goes down there automatically. All I had to do was press y and then a 1. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click on shift, and then we're going to do tilde, which is usually right next to your 1. You can also access it through the keyboard down here. But we're going to say y sub 1 is approximately equals 2. And then we're going to match the general form of a quadratic equation. So we're going to do a x 1. Same way, I just pressed x and a 1 without anything, and the 1 went down there. And then I'm going to do the exponent. We're going to send that to the second power. I'm going to click on the right key. And then I'm going to do plus bx1. And then plus c. So if you notice, a nice little parabola has been formed here. So this is the closest parabola that we can get to. So we are creating an equation, and if you notice, the Desmos calculator gave us 3 values right here on the left. Let's see if I can zoom in a little. So these 3 values are actually defining what our quadratic function should be. So once you have these 3 down here, we're going to go down here on a third row of Desmos, and we're going to just create that function, right? We're going to call it f of x is equal to, and then now instead of writing a, you're going to write negative 0.2. And then you're going to do x squared, x to the second power, right key. And then you're going to do plus, and instead of a b, you're going to put in a 2. So 2x. And if you notice, the function populated right on top of this parabola again. That is exactly what we need. At this point, we can start creating an actual function, so we can go ahead and visually get rid of our approximating formula equation. But we're going to leave this one on. And because we're going to leave this one on, we're going to go back up here, click on edit list. And for that function you just created, you're going to click on the table function. And here is where we'll put a lot of points, right? I said I wanted 9 points on my rubric, the center point being the vertex. So my vertex has to be 5, 5. We defined that earlier. So let's see if I could do that. Let's do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 6. So I'm missing 2 points. So let me start this at 2. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I need. All right, so this is my parabola. Let me start this at 1 so that I can finally have a nice little center. There we go. And so here's my parabola. I'm sorry, my vertex at 5, 5. And as we can see, every point around my vertex is just repeating as we covered in class. But now we see all these points really nice up here. Now all we have to do is take a picture of this. So if we want some points to be highlighted, we're going to click on them, specifically these 3. And let me zoom out a little more so my 10 comes out. There we go. So it's going to be these 3 points. And then once your parabola is created, this is pretty much set. All you have to do now is take screenshots and assemble it. But this portion on the left is what created this parabola. Now at this point, we can come over here on our graph settings. We can get rid of all my axis numbers, my minor grid lines, and my grid lines, and even my axes. And now we have just a parabola, right? So this can be one of the pictures you're taking when you're comparing your object to this parabola. And then once you take a screenshot of this, you can go ahead and add back the X and the Y axis, the grid, and everything else. And then we can take a better picture, probably zoom in a little more, but we can take a screenshot of this graph to use for that one slide. We can take a screenshot of this function to use for that one slide. And we can take a picture of, or a screenshot of this table for that one slide. So everything, or mostly everything, the hard part of this project can be done just through Desmos. But our starting point requires that we already have an object and that we know its depth and its width. Once we know those 2 initial things, we can start creating this thing right here that we see. Now this works if your parabola is pointing downward. What happens if my parabola is pointing upward? Let's see. I'm going to create, should I create another graph? No, I'm going to erase this one. So now let's backtrack a little bit. You can just rewind the video if you need to catch another part from here. But let me go ahead and let's get rid of all of these. I'm going to keep this because we're going to need it. But now let's say that now it's backwards. Now my vertex is the low point. So let's say my vertex happens at 0, 5. Oh, sorry, no, at 5, 0. I mix these up. So if it happens at 5, 0, now my vertex is down here. And then now I need points at that would be 0 and 5. 0 and 5, 5, 0. And then I need one at 10, 5. Again, we're matching the width. And we're matching the depth. And now as we can see, we have a point up here, down here, and to the right. And so once again, we're going to create this sort of thing. Oh, you know what? We do have to erase it because we changed our variables. So it's okay. We'll just do it again. We'll start out with y sub 1 approximately equal to ax1 to the second power plus bx1 plus c. And already we can see that a parabola was created here after we figure out the A and the B, which again are similar to the ones we looked at right now because it has the same width and depth. And we can go ahead and repeat the process and figure out what our table is going to be, what our picture of our parabola is going to be, and everything that comes with that. So what I just did right now covers what your parabola is going to look like in the first quadrant. You could probably get away with placing your parabola anywhere else on the graph, but I just figured that putting everything on the first quadrant just tends to be a little bit easier to work with. All the numbers are positive. There's no weird decimals or fractions, or at least not too many of them. But yeah, hopefully this video helped out. Take a look at it anytime you get stuck. And if you do have any further pressing questions, you can feel free to come and ask me.